Korea did one class, amazing class, and he talked about like 10 or 12, actually this is in a booklet also, back in the 90s or something, and it's a very useful class. It was a class on composition and arrangements and this, but also performing, and he said like 10 or 12 advices, and I remember some of them. If you can realize until the 5th or 6th, you will be the greatest player on the planet, because he is. And he said, gave away the secret. The number one is, first listen. This is biggest obstacle to the flow of music, that we don't listen. We are mechanically or with mental images or thinking another thing, not present, worrying about the future, having fear because we don't have enough technique or the rhythm we haven't mastered, etc. And don't listen. Or busy with the mind in other places, etc. So, advice number one, he said, first listen. Which means you have to be present there, in the present. Not worrying about the past or the future, in the present. Advice number two is, listen your sound. Then advice number three is, listen the other's sound. The guys you are playing with, or the rhythm section, or the other guitar. This is intended to make, those were advices to play good music in groups. And he said, advice number one, listen. Number two is listen your sound. And number three is listen the sound of the others. Because that also we don't do. When we do our seminars here, our workshops, and people come and play, you can notice how the guys at the end, they go very good, but many times it happens that in the beginning you feel disconnected, or one people is playing one way, the other is going his own way, the other is going his own way. They are not cohesion into the group, as a group, or in a trio or 6 players, or because here we play with 5 or 6 guys together, and then you have to match, you have to answer the phrases that the other guy is playing, listen him, and then try to complement that, or in other words, the equation is what I can play that makes the other sound better. That's why everyone wants Chick Corea to play in his album, because he makes beautiful what the others do. Not that I am here with the E1, this is how I play. No. He's thinking this equation, what can I do that makes the other sound better. That's a very elevated thing in music. And he's an expert on that. So therefore, to do that, you need to listen your sound and you need to listen the sound of the others. Advice number 4 is listen your sound and the other's sound and how it combines. This is one thing which people don't do generally. What is a great group of music? Let's say the trio, Paco de Lucia, Al Di Meola, and John McLaughlin. This is a super trio, guitar trio. How does it sound that? Well, first of all, they listen to each other very well. They know themselves, they listen their sound, and they also listen the other guy, and then be able to contrast what the other is doing. At the extreme of these two great players using the peak as technique, but of course they transcended it. And of course, McLaughlin transcended the peak, but the thing is that, yeah, you forget they are playing peak, but the thing is that they listen so well each other that create beautiful music together. When you are playing alone, this is one thing, but when you are, just like when you are single or if you are married, then you have to now know how to live to create harmony. So same thing when you play in a duet or with two guitars or with another, with a percussionist or with a singer or with anything you do, you have to create this harmony, matching. It has to match. To match, you have to listen, and you have to listen them also. But you also have to listen your sound, because if you have, say, in a gig, someone put the volume to high volume, his guitar plugged in and it's very high, and the other guy are let to have unbalance on volumes. This creates ugliness. The beauty of music and this magic called duende, which is when things happen great, they're sometimes unplanned or of course they go with intention to play that it will happen, this duende thing, which is the feeling when things are transmitted beyond words in music, because other things is that the experience of music is in the present, and it's a musical experience of listening. It has nothing to do with talking about it, but ironically enough, to understand these things, we need to talk about it. And then when we actually realize it, then we don't talk and just play. This is what we can do. But a teacher needs to explain the thing, and we need to listen. You don't know how many things Paco told me, hours and hours of conversations and other things that he was explaining, which really helped me more than playing 20 million pieces. Because if you don't understand this first intellectually, how you will digest the thing. So Chick Corea keeps saying listen, and then she said listen to your sound, then listen to the sound of others, and now listen to the sound of others and your sound together. And now he said, now listen your sound, the sounds of the others, and how they sound in the place you are playing, because if it is a small hall or a big hall or in your practice room, or how does it sound in this environment, and you have to sit in a way that you feel comfortable in the place where you are, maybe not in the corner of the house or anything. Like, it matters where are you seated, how you are, if you are like this or shy or hiding behind the guitar, or you are with a nice presence, you came to the point of accepting how you play also realistically, and don't have this false expectation, or what Kenny Werner said, that people is playing and then is thinking, oh, this sucks, this is bad, this is, wow, that sounded very bad, that sounded bad, and then it brings a bad atmosphere, right? This is in the subtle way, but in the external way also, the place where you play and the situation, how you are playing in a certain gig or something, it matters. So Chick Corea said, listen, now you not only listen to your sound and the other sound, but you listen that combined with the place where you are playing, the whole thing, and also the public, if there is public, or the camera, if there is a camera. For instance, you know, I am one of the only Spanish player played Rio de la Miel in Spanish TV. I'm proud of this because even Paco liked this performance. And I tried to play this piece this time, making an arrangement with the singer, etc., live in a Spanish television program. And that was like 3 years ago or something. I will post the description of this video, that link, so that you can see it. And we noticed, because some students also went with me that day to play other pieces. I played other stuff with them. And I noticed that one thing is when you are playing in your your room or in your practice room or in your house, or in an informal situation with friends or relaxed manner. They were taking a beer and then play something relaxed, no big deal. And another thing is when you have a camera of TV in front of you recording you. Then now let's see how much of control you have over the thing, to not be worrying over the passages and be able to succeed and do it. Because if you have to repeat in TV a piece, suppose you start playing something and then comes a mistake, and then you have to say, sorry, I have to repeat it. It's a bad idea, because everyone, the producer of the thing is costing a lot of money, all the technicians which are there, 20 people with the microphones, with the lights, with the cameras, with all these things, with several cameras, big cameras like this. It's a big deal due to that, because if it happens again, then even worse, because I have seen people go down the hill in their interpretation because of this thing, because they start playing, they do some mistakes, have not the mind clear, and a bit worried, and then they block, and then what happens? They play something, and then of course comes a mistake, and they say, I have to repeat it in TV, I'm saying, for instance. And then of course the producer and everyone goes, oh man, come on, this guy again did another mistake again. Okay, let's go again, guys. Okay, 3, 2, 1, do it. Like, you know, they have to, they put a vibration there that you get more pressure. So this advice is what I'm saying, talking about in this series. If you realize this knowledge, you will be able to play the stuff great. As Kenny Werner said, and by the way, I recommend this effortless mastery method, because it's not for jazz, it's for everything. And of course for flamenco it is also. It's not the same to play in your room that with a camera of TV in front of you. Because of what you expect from you, what do you think the others will think about you, which is it also affects you. Should not, but it does. And this is a fact. And even Paco was worried about that. How can he play if he did a mistake and feel bad for this thing, right? So it matters many things, and then therefore the place where you play, you have to feel comfortable with your being there and being present, and therefore you need to listen your sound, the sound of others, and your sound in the context, precise context of what you are playing. If it is a rehearsal, or you're in the school, at the studio, or if you're in a TV program, any situation. Or like for me now, I'm trying to give you some value on things that you cannot learn somewhere else, because this is a very specific topic of interpretation and people do not talk about this. So I'm giving you this thing, and then of course I have to be present here, and I have to do the best I can do to convey these enlightening concepts so that your interpretation skyrocket up to the moon or Mars or to other dimension, right? So to say, because with this we have to transport ourselves to a higher realm of inspiration. That's the thing. So it matters when you play in front of a camera is different, because you expect to play well, and this expectation produces some problems. So this Kenny Werner is expert in this topic, is the only teacher which explains this really amazingly great. And he's a realized musician, all accomplished, etc., great master and a genius of harmony, etc. I learned these things from him, and I will post also the description of this video his method, because it's a very interesting thing. I watch it every year at least once or twice religiously, because it unblocks you. This I didn't learn from Paco de Lucia, because Paco de Lucia have a big problem with this, with not blocking. Sometimes out of a mistake he did, it came a better thing, but he was very concerned about it. And of course when the cell phones came, he hated them thoroughly, because he always expected that mistakes are not recorded there to be remembered or analyzed by others. So he felt bad that some also, I understand why also, is that the tradition was against him, obviously, and some of these people went to his concerts and then we're expecting that he did one mistake to kind of like if with the mind they were saying, look at you are doing a mistake, you see. And then he of course was very sensitive to these things, and then he felt that vibration thing, and then therefore it did affect him. I have to give advice to him this many times. And also Chick Corea did. Like, how do you care of these purists or the Dutchmen? Forget about these people, just play anything. That's why he preferred to play in outside of Spain. Why? Because people were more open and were there for the music. And here some people, really speaking, came just to criticize him. Backbiting. Because front they will say, well, how are you and that, but actually they were enemies of him, or people who feel uncomfortable because Paco was his very existence threatened the ignorance of these other guys and their low level as musicians, and therefore they were very resentful for this matter and will try to make his life difficult by going to his shows and sitting there in first row and then like with this attitude, okay, let's see what you do. You know, there is people like that. Also, I have also some theories on how to. Well, I developed a method how to treat trolls, because this channel has 2,300 videos, and of course some people do not like this, that I am making others play great and giving information like this. To everyone. Some even came to the extent to offer me money to take down some videos. Like they said that they lose students because of those. It was the series of Bulleria. I remember like 4 years ago or something, teachers came and said, look, how about we give you $2,000 and you delete these videos of Bulleria, because I am losing all my students because of you. Because they can learn that for free there, and they don't come, and then they start saying excuses like my grandmother died, or these things, and don't show up anymore. Well, of course I understand their point of view, because they feel threatened. So, and of course what I am doing here, I am doing for you guys, to give you value and to make you play better. My success is to make you play better. And therefore, I'm not accepting any money for this thing. Nobody's paying me to do this. Right now, what I'm telling you, who is paying me? What is paying me? I'm saying that with the best intention, to convey you something that will make you play better, of what I learned from Paco de Lucia, negative and positive. And the negative thing was, he freaked out sometimes with the environment. So that you can learn from Kenny Werner. That is a 0.5. And then I think that, well, I don't remember all the 10, but the 6th one was listen your sound, the sound of the others in the place you are playing, and now try to play something which makes the others sound great. That was a marvelous statement. Because imagine if you play with a guy that you do something and then they react, the other guy plays something that makes you sound better. All of a sudden you sound better. The opposite of this came to my mind. Sorry for this detour. It's not a detour because it's true. That when I was 18 years old or something, and I played some tablaos here in Madrid also around, and there were very envious people. Then that time I was trying to play, and because of course I have a girlfriend who was dancer, and then I get involved with these dancing people here, and with the tablao thing as a job. I was 18 or something. Then I didn't teach or that. So that was my job, and then what happened in the tablao is that people was very envious sometimes, and then when you try to do some melody, you know, something beautiful in soleá or in the performance, then they go to just delete you, to erase you, to cover up the thing. That's how these people deals. So I have to, this is the opposite of what Chick Corea said, because these guys wanted to cover you up so that nobody noticed you have better picado than them or something. You know, this kind of stuff is there, unfortunately, on the lowest level of people who has, of course, no education, and you can say anything, but this is how sometimes musicians are, or people envying others. This is very present, and therefore The opposite to that is what Chicory is saying: listen to your sound, listen to the others in the context you are playing, and play something that makes the others sound beautiful. So you not only don't want to bury them down, like they tried with me many times, and with Paco. Paco de Lucia was, by the way, the third guitar player in the company of El Greco, and the first one was Paco Cepero. Forgive me, God, for this thing, but this is true. Paco Cepero was the first player. Paco was the third one in the first time he went to America, you know. And Paco was the third one, earning $3, like very bad paid, and a bit mistreated also with the thing. This was before he was, of course he was a soloist, but he had not launched his first album, Fabuloso Guitar of Paco de Lucia, then, because that we are talking when he was 16 or something like this, 16 or 17. So the third, of course, the position there was, in fact, one day, the main guy couldn't play the solo, or the second guitar player, because in flamenco we have these rituals and these hierarchies. Like in the old tablao, maybe people now, young people don't even know it, but I knew these things because Paco told me this also. That in the tablao, you know, the first guitar player, he sits by the side of the singer or the dancer, and the others, if it is second guitar player, third, and they actually announce that in the show. First guitar player, such and such, second guitar player, like that, third guitar player, like this. They say it because there is also jefe de grupo, the boss of the group, which is a position you get in the tablaos also, and it's, of course you are paid more because you are supposed to kind of control the others and make sure that they do the rehearsals well, etc. All these things. So the thing is that there are hierarchies in flamenco, very clear. Bless the time which I could get rid of all this, because I discovered that, yeah, I can perform, I can play everything. I can be soloist, I'm trained to do that, I can play anything I want, but that was not satisfying. It's not for me, this performance thing. I said it many times. I trained people since Tony Ray, since he was 5 years old, not 10 years old, around 5 years, from 10 to 15 or something. He was every day with me learning things there, which I taught him. And other players are soloists, which I trained. I trained some soloist guys there because they like to play also soloist and do performer. But for me, it's not good. It's not good enough, the job of performing. Because, look, suppose you play there around, and then you have to live in the airplanes or live in the road, eating rotten pizza and with no stability, and then you go there to a show, do such an effort to arrive to a gig, and then they go, that's all, and then that's all. That is too little. I wanted to create residual earnings, which means, what the earnings I mean with that? I mean that if I can make others play great, that really gives me satisfaction that the applause of the public does not give me. Really speaking, it's not for me. I can train people doing like this, but when I was young, I had to do it also because now, fortunately, I don't need to work. Not that I'm rich or anything, but I don't do this for money teaching. I do it because I like it. But then, when I was 20 or 18, I needed it because I was in Madrid alone, and then I had to survive. So that's how I tried. I arrived there, and then people will, instead of saying hello, they will say, "When do you say you go?" to Italy or to other place, because they were afraid that, you know, people feel threatened sometimes. Most of the time, if we are to be sincere. So, yes, it does affect you, these things, and therefore, this is the opposite. Paco was also being played, bullied, and thrown over by those guys who were paying him, and he was so-called of inferior status, because clearly it says the program, you can see in the program printed of El Greco, it says third guitar player Paco de Lucia. Let me see if I can search one. I had one there a long time ago, but I think I lost it. I don't have it in this house, but yeah, it is there. You can see third guitar player. And then one day Paco talked about how he felt about this thing. So, and of course he was bullied by the others. So inimical circumstances make us strong sometimes, because I came to the point of just destroying any troll by asking them to play. Trolls and all these people can talk only, empty words, but cannot play really. So my jackmate movies, I just say, no problem, man. If you said I suck or anything, I don't have any problem. Just do one thing. Play this falsetto, play this thing what you're talking about. Let's see how you do. And that is their end. Period. So, yeah, but what Chick Corea was saying, that's why I was so amazed with this class, because it was the opposite of what I was used to be in flamenco. Apparently in jazz, people is more friendly, let's say. Right, and many anecdotes that Paco told me, bad jokes, hard jokes, the pranks, bad pranks he did, and also were done to him things, you know, from cutting the strings of the guitar, the case, like crazy things, cutting the string of the cejilla of the capo so that you fail in the show, things like this. Well, many things. Therefore, the sixth advice of Chick Corea, coming back, because I have to show you the opposite, what is not that. So envy and this stuff is the opposite. Because Chick Corea said, listen, your sound, the other sound in the context you are playing, and try to play something that makes the other sound beautiful. So how I will make others sound better. Therefore, this is an environment that has to be analyzed carefully, and therefore these things here, the most important point is that Chick Corea kept saying, listened. The word listen was in all his statements. And this, ironically enough, it is something we don't do, to listen properly. So we need to listen. And listening implies many things. What is your mental state? If you are worrying about the things, or you haven't mastered the pieces, don't know the piece well, or the rhythm, you are afraid to miss the chord or miss the, you know, these things affects. And also who is the public, if they are, you know, friendly or not, or what is the engagement, what is the deal of this thing, you know? And then therefore music, well, there are favorable situations which you can create. For me, I found mine. I play, I can perform, I play sometimes. Now, lately, I have, well, on TV, we used to come every year, this TV, Spanish television show, they called us, please bring the students, they play great, they were very enthusiastic that foreigners are, how these foreigners are playing great, man, German guys like that, wow, bring them to TV. So the director used to call me every year, it still calls, but I haven't gone like a couple of years ago, but now I'm recording some with multi-screen system, and this is, it gives so much possibilities that the TV cannot give you, because who can accompany me like me? This is first thing, and many other things, because you can really build up an arrangement as you want to do it. Many things. So I do perform, but when I perform, I generally perform or in TV or in this multi-screen thing. I perform when I want, not because someone is paying me and things. You know, these musicians for gigs, we suffer a lot. I also had to do it. I accompany singers. I accompany even Julio Iglesias one time. I accompany commercial singers, pop, everything I did. Also as a musician when I was 20, right? And I know what it is to be on the road and suffering this thing, and you don't have time to eat, and you have to play. Maybe they didn't sleep well, and there was jet lag or whatever, and you have to do the thing or read the partitures of what you're supposed to play. Musician studio recording session, I also did this thing as a job, and it's very difficult. You go there, you're supposed to get the stuff immediately and play it, even if it is for jingles or for whatever. They hire you in the studio, so yeah, it matters. All this training is good, that you get a good mental frame and work with it so that you can give the best you have in your situation. And for me, teaching, pedagogic endeavors and teaching, this is great, because I see how really people improve and learn it and enjoy music, and that's my payment, is when you play great, in other words. So that's why I'm saying all these things. Therefore, to recapitulate, and hopefully we will realize these 6 points, which were 10 or something. I will remember the others, but Some were related to the volume of the instruments which are on the stage. Some things should not be very high and the other low, like this. But and many other interesting things. But these 6 first ones were, wow, really amazing. Listen. The second, listen your sound. But really listen it. Now listen the sound of the others. Now listen your sound and the others' sound. Together, how they mix. Now listen your sound and the other sound in the context of the place you are playing, and then play something that makes the other sound good. This was the whole class about this point, this last point. What I can play when playing in groups that can make others sound great. So this is the series to surpass the obstacles to the flow of music, and I hope this will be very beneficial for your musical path. Thank you, and I see you next time.